The teacher burst into class and screamed, "Who left their phone in the bathroom?" Mrs. Kowalski's face was purple. Not red, not flushed. Purple like she'd been holding her breath for 3 minutes straight. She slammed the door so hard the periodic table poster fell off the wall behind her. 28 students froze mid-conversation. The room went silent except for the poster sliding down the wall and landing on the floor with a soft thud. She stood there gripping something in her hand, chest heaving, eyes scanning every face like she was looking for a specific target. Then she screamed it again. "Who left their phone in the bathroom?" 4 hands went up slowly. Mine was one of them. Huge mistake. Mrs. Kowalski pointed directly at us with her free hand. "You 4. Get up. Come here now." I looked at my best friend, Destiny, sitting next to me. She mouthed, "What the hell?" But I had no answer. I stood up with the others. Jamal from the back row, Alexis, who sat by the window, and Sophie from the front. We walked toward Mrs. Kowalski like we were walking to our own funerals. 28 pairs of eyes watched us move. Nobody made a sound. Mrs. Kowalski's hand was shaking as she held whatever she was gripping. I couldn't see what it was yet. We reached the front of the classroom and stopped. Mrs. Kowalski was breathing hard through her nose. Her nostrils flared with each breath. She looked at each of us individually, spending several seconds on each face. When her eyes met mine, I felt my stomach drop. There was something wrong in her expression. This wasn't about a forgotten phone. This was something else. Something worse. She finally held up what was in her hand. A phone in a clear case with a purple pop socket. I didn't recognize it. None of us did based on the confused looks we were exchanging. "That's not my phone," Alexis said. Her voice was small and uncertain. Mrs. Kowalski's jaw clenched so hard I could see the muscle jumping in her cheek. "One of you left this phone in the girls' bathroom on the 2nd floor." The screen was unlocked, open to a group chat with very specific content about this school, about me specifically. She was shaking harder now. Her voice was getting louder with each word. "I want to know right now which one of you owns this phone." I looked at Jamal. He shook his head slightly. Sophie was staring at the phone like it might explode. Alexis had tears forming in her eyes already. I had no idea what was happening. My phone was in my backpack. I always kept it there during class. Mrs. Kowalski set the phone down on her desk with a sharp click. The screen was still lit up. I could see text messages, but couldn't read them from where I stood. She crossed her arms and stared at us. "I'm going to ask one more time. Whose phone is this?" The silence stretched out painfully. I could hear someone coughing in the back of the room. Someone else's pencil tapping nervously against their desk. Alexis spoke up again, her voice cracking. "Mrs. K, I swear that's not mine. My phone is black with a Batman case. You can check my bag." Mrs. Kowalski didn't look at her. She kept her eyes fixed on all 4 of us collectively, like we were one entity instead of 4 separate people. Principal Davis appeared in the doorway. I hadn't heard him coming. Mrs. Kowalski must have called him before bursting into our classroom. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. His tie was slightly crooked. He cleared his throat. "These 4? Mrs. Kowalski nodded sharply. "These 4 all have phones. One of them left this in the bathroom with some very disturbing content on it." Principal Davis stepped into the room and closed the door behind him. The click of the latch sounded final, like a cell door closing. Everyone in the class remained frozen and silent. This had stopped being a normal Friday afternoon chemistry class. Principal Davis walked to Mrs. Kowalski's desk and looked at the phone. His expression changed as he read whatever was on the screen. His eyebrows went up first. Then his mouth pressed into a thin line. Then his face went pale. He looked up at the 4 of us. "This is serious. Very serious." He picked up the phone carefully, holding it by the edges like it was evidence at a crime scene. "We need to take you 4 to my office. Bring your bags. Leave everything else. Mrs. Kowalski will supervise the rest of the class." My hands were shaking as I went back to my desk to grab my backpack. Destiny grabbed my wrist as I passed. She whispered what's happening, but I just shook my head. I had no idea. The 4 of us followed Principal Davis into the hallway. The door closed behind us, and we could hear Mrs. Kowalski addressing the remaining students. Her voice was muffled, but still angry. Principal Davis walked fast. We had to almost jog to keep up. He didn't look back at us, just kept walking with that phone held carefully in his hand. We passed empty classrooms with teachers still teaching. Normal Friday afternoon lessons happening while we were being marched to the office for something we didn't do. We turned down the main hallway toward the administrative wing. I could see Officer Barnes standing outside the principal's office. Our school resource officer. This was getting worse by the second. Officer Barnes straightened up when he saw us approaching. His hand instinctively went to his belt where his radio was clipped. Principal Davis nodded at him. "These are the 4. Officer Barnes opened the door to the main office and held it. We filed in past him. The secretary, Mrs. Lynn, looked up from her computer, and her friendly smile disappeared when she saw our faces. Principal Davis led us past her desk into the conference room, the one they used for serious meetings, parent conferences about failing grades, disciplinary hearings. The room had a long table with 8 chairs, a white board on one wall, a small window that looked out at the parking lot. Principal Davis gestured for us to sit on one side of the table. We sat. Officer Barnes came in and closed the door. He stood near it with his arms crossed. Principal Davis sat down across from us and placed the phone on the table between us. The screen had gone dark now. He folded his hands and looked at each of us in turn. "I need one of you to be honest right now. Whose phone is this?" We all started talking at once. "That's not mine. I don't know whose that is. My phone is different. I've never seen that phone before." Principal Davis held up his hand and we stopped. He pulled out his own phone and started typing, reading something, comparing information. He looked up at Jamal first. "Jamal, what's your phone number?" Jamal recited his number. Principal Davis typed it into the mystery phone. Waited. Nothing happened. Not yours. He looked at Alexis. She gave her number. He typed it in. Waited. Nothing. He went through Sophie and then me. None of our numbers made the mystery phone ring or light up. We were telling the truth. None of us owned that phone. But that just made Principal Davis look more confused and more concerned. He picked up the phone and unlocked it. The screen lit up showing that group chat Mrs. Kowalski had mentioned. He started reading silently. His expression got darker with each passing second. Officer Barnes moved closer to look over his shoulder. His face changed too. This is bad, Officer Barnes said quietly. Principal Davis set the phone down and rubbed his face with both hands. He looked exhausted suddenly. Okay, if none of you own this phone, we need to figure out who does. This phone contains detailed plans about bringing a weapon to school. Detailed plans about targeting specific teachers and students. The group chat has 4 participants. One of them left this phone in the bathroom. We need to identify all 4 people in that chat immediately. My blood went cold. A weapon. They thought one of us was planning to bring a weapon to school. This wasn't about a forgotten phone or inappropriate messages. This was about preventing something terrible. Something like what happened at other schools. The kind of thing you see on the news and think could never happen here. Sophie started crying, full sobs that shook her whole body. I didn't do anything. I would never, I swear I've never even talked about anything like that. Alexis put her arm around Sophie's shoulders. Principal Davis softened slightly. I believe you, but someone left this phone and we need to figure out who. Officer Barnes, can you call the other administrators? We need to start pulling students who might be connected to this. Officer Barnes pulled out his radio and stepped into the hallway. I could hear him speaking in low, urgent tones. Code words I didn't understand. Requesting backup. Requesting additional staff. This was escalating into a full lockdown situation. Principal Davis looked at the 4 of us. I need you to think carefully. Do any of you know anyone who has expressed interest in hurting people at this school? Anyone who's made concerning statements or jokes that seemed too specific? Anyone who's been researching weapons or violence? We all shook our heads. I tried to think back through conversations I'd had with classmates. Destiny and I joked about hating chemistry class sometimes, but never anything violent. Never anything real. Jamal spoke up. There was this kid Dylan who got suspended last month for fighting. He said some pretty intense stuff before he left. Said he'd make everyone pay. But I thought he was just mad. Everyone says stuff like that when they're angry. Principal Davis wrote down Dylan's name. Officer Barnes came back in with Vice Principal Reynolds. She looked serious and scared at the same time. Her hands were clasped tightly in front of her. Principal Davis filled her in quickly. Vice Principal Reynolds looked at the phone, read some of the messages. Her face went white. We need to evacuate the school. This is credible. We have specific threats against specific people. We need to call the police. Not just Officer Barnes. Real police. Detectives. FBI, maybe. Principal Davis was already reaching for the office phone. This had gone from serious to catastrophic in seconds. The 4 of us sat there watching adults panic around us. The announcement came over the PA system 3 minutes later. Attention all staff and students. We are implementing an immediate modified lockdown. All students remain in current classrooms. All teachers lock doors and move students away from windows. This is not a drill. Repeat. This is not a drill. I could hear the click as the PA turned off. Then silence. Then the distant sound of doors slamming throughout the building. We were trapped in the conference room while the entire school went into emergency mode. Sophie was still crying. Alexis looked like she might throw up. Jamal had his head in his hands. I just sat there feeling numb. This morning I'd woken up thinking about the chemistry quiz we were supposed to have. Now I was sitting in a conference room while the school locked down because of a phone that wasn't mine containing threats I knew nothing about. 2 police officers arrived within 10 minutes. Real police with guns and bulletproof vests. Not school resource officers. Actual cops who dealt with serious crimes. They brought in equipment, laptops, evidence bags, recording devices. They took the mystery phone and immediately started analyzing it. One officer introduced herself as Detective Ortiz. The other was Detective Kim. They separated us, put Jamal in one room, Sophie in another, Alexis in the counselor's office, me in the nurse's office. Detective Ortiz came in and sat down across from me. She had kind eyes, but her voice was all business. I need you to tell me everything about today, from when you woke up until Mrs. Kowalski came into class. I told her everything. Woke up at 6:30, showered, ate breakfast. Mom drove me to school. First period was history. Mr. Garrett was sick, so we had a substitute who let us work quietly. Second period, English. We read The Great Gatsby. Third period, math. Pop quiz that I probably failed. Fourth period was lunch. I sat with Destiny and our friends. We talked about weekend plans. Fifth period was chemistry with Mrs. Kowalski. We were in the middle of reviewing atomic structures when she burst in. Detective Ortiz wrote everything down. Asked follow-up questions. Where exactly did you sit at lunch? Who did you talk to? Did you go to the bathroom during passing periods? Did you see anyone acting strange? I answered everything as completely as I could. Then she pulled out her laptop and showed me screenshots from the group chat. My stomach turned as I read them. These weren't vague threats. These were detailed plans. Specific rooms, specific times, today's date. The messages talked about bringing items in through the side entrance by the gym, about hiding things in specific lockers, about waiting until sixth period when certain teachers would be in certain rooms. The messages used code words, but the intent was clear. This was a planned attack, and it was supposed to happen today, in about 2 hours. Sixth period was when I had study hall, when most seniors had free periods, when the library and common areas would be full of students. Detective Ortiz watched my face as I read. Do you recognize any of these usernames? The chat showed 4 participants. Phoenix Down 92, Shadow Knight, Voidwalker, Nightmare King. I shook my head. Those aren't real names. Those are gaming handles or something. She nodded. We're tracing the phone numbers. The mystery phone belongs to one of these 4 people, but we need to identify them quickly. They mentioned today. If this is real, we have about 2 hours before they attempt whatever they're planning. My mouth was dry. I grabbed the water bottle Detective Ortiz offered. 2 hours. 2 hours until something terrible was supposed to happen and nobody knew who was planning it or where exactly it would occur. Detective Kim came in with an update. We ran the phone number. It's registered to a Patricia Hernandez at an address on Oak Street. Vice Principal Reynolds is pulling records now. Patricia transferred here 3 months ago from out of state. Junior, 17 years old. Detective Ortiz stood up immediately. Where is she now? According to attendance, she's in 5th period biology. Room 203. Detective Kim was already moving. I could hear him on his radio calling for backup, sending officers to room 203. I sat there processing what I'd just heard. Patricia Hernandez. I knew that name. She was in my history class 1st period. Quiet girl who always sat in the back, wore oversized hoodies, never talked to anyone. I'd never thought twice about her. Vice Principal Reynolds rushed in with Patricia's file. Detective Ortiz flipped through it. Multiple school transfers. Disciplinary issues at her previous schools. Fighting, threatening language. A concerning essay that got flagged by a teacher but never followed up on. Red flags everywhere. How did this slip through? Vice Principal Reynolds looked devastated. We do intake interviews, but we're not equipped to do deep background checks on every transfer student. We have hundreds of kids and limited resources. Detective Ortiz didn't respond. She was already reading through Patricia's records, looking for connections, looking for the other 3 people in that group chat, looking for anything that might tell them what was planned and how to stop it. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I'd forgotten I even had it. Detective Ortiz nodded that I could check it. It was Destiny. Multiple texts asking if I was okay, asking what was happening. The whole school was on lockdown and rumors were spreading. Some kids thought there was an active shooter already. Others thought it was just a drill. Nobody knew the truth. I texted back that I was fine, that I'd explain later. Detective Ortiz took my phone gently. I need to check your messages. Make sure you're not connected to this. I unlocked it and handed it over. She scrolled through my texts, my social media, my photos, found nothing because there was nothing to find. She gave it back. You're clear, but you need to stay here until we resolve this. Officer Barnes came in with Sophie, Alexis, and Jamal. They'd all been cleared too. We sat together in the nurse's office while chaos unfolded around us. Police were searching Patricia's locker, searching her car in the parking lot, searching room 203 where she was supposed to be. But Patricia wasn't there. According to her biology teacher, Patricia had asked for a bathroom pass 15 minutes before Mrs. Kowalski found the phone. She never came back. Patricia was somewhere in the building or had already left. With the school on lockdown, nobody could get in or out. If she was still here, they'd find her. But if she'd left before the lockdown, she was gone, and she might be coming back with whatever she'd planned to bring. Detective Kim's radio crackled. All units. Suspect vehicle identified in parking lot. License plate matches registration. Blue Toyota sedan. Trunk is open. Trunk is empty. Repeat. Trunk is open and empty. Whatever she brought is already inside the building. The room went silent. Empty trunk meant Patricia had already moved whatever items she'd brought into the school. The weapons or materials mentioned in the group chat. They were somewhere in this building right now. Principal Davis got on the PA again. All staff. Secure all students immediately. Police are conducting a room-by-room search. Nobody moves. Nobody opens doors. Stay where you are. His voice was shaking. Alexis grabbed my hand. We might die today. She said it so matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather. We might actually die because some girl we don't even know decided to do something terrible, and we just happened to be in the same building. Sophie was crying again. Jamal looked angry. His jaw was clenched, and his hands were balled into fists. This is insane. We're just trying to go to school. We're just trying to learn chemistry and go home and live our lives. Why does this keep happening? Nobody answered because there was no answer. This was America. This was what school looked like now. Lockdown drills, metal detectors, active shooter training, clear backpacks, fear. Detective Ortiz got a call. She listened and her face changed. Okay, yes. Move carefully. Don't engage until we have everyone accounted for. She hung up and looked at Officer Barnes. They found something in locker 138. That's Patricia's locker. Officer Barnes left immediately. We could hear his footsteps running down the hallway. The building was eerily quiet otherwise. Hundreds of students locked in classrooms making no noise. Waiting. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Destiny was somewhere in this building in her classroom. My mom was at work not knowing what was happening. My little brother was at the elementary school down the street. Normal life was continuing outside while we were trapped in here. Officer Barnes came back. His face was grim. They found backpacks. 3 backpacks hidden in the back of her locker. They're scanning them now with the portable X-ray. Detective Kim joined him. We need to identify the other 3 people in that chat. Phoenix Down 92, Shadow Knight, and Voidwalker. One of them is Patricia. We need the other 3. Now. Vice Principal Reynolds was already on her computer pulling up student records. Gaming handles. Check their social media. Check their online presence. We need tech support. Detective Ortiz made another call. Within minutes, a tech specialist arrived with more equipment. They cloned the mystery phone's data and started tracing digital footprints. The tech specialist worked fast, fingers flying over the keyboard, Multiple screens open showing different databases and social media platforms. Found one. Phoenix Down 92 is Patricia Hernandez, her old Instagram handle before she deleted her account. That confirms she's part of this group. Still tracing the other three. Detective Kim looked at Vice Principal Reynolds. Pull attendance records. Who else is missing from class right now? She pulled up the data. 3 more students were unaccounted for. Dylan Foster, the kid Jamal had mentioned who got suspended. Apparently he'd been allowed back this week. Naomi Chen. Wait, that name was forbidden. Naomi Brooks and Trevor King. 3 students missing besides Patricia. 4 people total. The exact number in the group chat. Detective Kim radioed for immediate location checks on all 3. Dylan Foster was found in the library. He'd been there all period working on a project. Officers took him into custody anyway. Questioned him. Searched his bag. Found nothing. His phone showed he wasn't part of the group chat. Wrong Dylan, apparently. Trevor King was located in the gym. He had an injured ankle and was sitting out of class. Also cleared quickly. His phone records showed he wasn't involved. That left Naomi Brooks. Nobody could find her. Her last known location was 3rd period math. She'd asked for a bathroom pass and never returned. 2 girls missing. Patricia and Naomi. 2 members of the group chat unaccounted for. 2 people somewhere in this building with potential weapons. The tech specialist pulled up Naomi's social media. Her accounts were still active. Recent posts showed concerning content. Dark images, violent song lyrics, photos with captions about revenge and justice and making people pay. Screenshots showed she'd been in the group chat. Her handle was Shadow Knight. Detective Ortiz studied the photos. Naomi had been bullied severely. Multiple reports filed with the school over the past year. Reports that were documented but never seemed to result in serious consequences for the bullies. Classic case of systemic failure. Students reporting abuse. Administration acknowledging it. Nothing changing. Bullying continuing until the victim snapped. We'd all heard this story before. Different school. Same pattern. The PA crackled to life. Naomi Brooks and Patricia Hernandez. This is Principal Davis. We know you can hear this. We've read your messages. We understand you're hurt and angry. But this isn't the way. Please come to the main office. We want to talk. We want to help. Nobody will hurt you. Please. The desperation in his voice was painful to hear. 30 seconds of silence. Then the PA clicked off. No response. Detective Kim shook his head. They're not coming. They've planned this too carefully. They're not going to just give up now. We need to find them before 6th period. Before whatever they plan to do actually happens. They had 45 minutes until 6th period started. Police were conducting room-by-room searches, moving carefully through the building, checking every classroom, bathroom, closet, and storage space. The school was large, 3 floors, 75 rooms. This would take time they might not have. The tech specialist made a breakthrough, found the other 2 members of the chat. Void Walker is Marcus Liu. Nightmare King is Caleb Washington. Both seniors. Both have history with Naomi. Marcus was one of her primary bullies. Caleb spread rumors about her last year that got her ostracized. Detective Ortiz looked confused. Wait, the victims are in the group chat? That doesn't make sense. Unless this wasn't about them attacking the school. Maybe it was about them planning something else. She pulled up the messages again. Read them more carefully this time. Her face changed. Oh no. This isn't about them being the attackers. This is about them being targets. Patricia and Naomi are planning to attack Marcus and Caleb specifically. The messages aren't planning a mass shooting. They're planning targeted revenge during 6th period when Marcus and Caleb will both be in the library. That's why they mentioned specific times and locations. They're hunting 2 people, not trying to hurt everyone. We've been treating this like a school shooting threat. It's a murder plot. 2 girls planning to kill their bullies during 6th period while the school is full of witnesses. Bold and desperate and specific. Detective Kim immediately radioed for Marcus and Caleb's location. Marcus Liu is in room 305, English Literature. Caleb Washington is in room 218, Physics. Get units to both rooms now. Extract them quietly. Bring them to the office. Don't cause panic. Within minutes, both boys were being escorted down the hallway by police officers. They looked terrified and confused. They were brought into the conference room, both of them claiming they had no idea what this was about. Detective Ortiz showed them the messages. Both boys went pale. Marcus started crying immediately. I'm sorry, I know I was mean to Naomi, but I stopped months ago. I apologized. I thought we were okay. Caleb looked sick. I never thought she'd actually want to kill us. The messages were explicit. Patricia and Naomi had spent weeks planning exactly how they'd get access to Marcus and Caleb during 6th period. The library had blind spots where the security cameras didn't reach. They'd planned to corner them there, use weapons they'd brought in, make it look like self-defense initially. The messages showed research into how to avoid getting caught, how to claim they were defending themselves, how to manipulate the aftermath. These weren't impulsive, angry teenagers. These were 2 girls who'd been pushed so far they'd become calculated predators. The system had failed them when they reported bullying. Now they were taking justice into their own hands. Detective Kim made a decision. Lockdown continues. Marcus and Caleb stay here under protection. We find Patricia and Naomi before 6th period starts. We have 30 minutes. All available officers sweep the building. K-9 units are on the way to help locate any weapons they've hidden. Nobody gets hurt today. Not the targets, not the girls. Nobody. He radioed the orders. We could hear boots running through hallways, doors opening and closing, commands being shouted. The entire building was being torn apart looking for 2 teenage girls who decided murder was their only option. I felt sick. Not because I condoned what they were planning, but because I understood how they'd gotten here. How many times had their cries for help been ignored? Sophie spoke up quietly. I knew Naomi. We had art class together last year. She told me about the bullying, about Marcus and his friends, about Caleb spreading those rumors. She said she'd reported it, but nothing happened. She stopped coming to art eventually, just stopped showing up. I tried to text her, but she never responded. I should have done more. Detective Ortiz put a hand on Sophie's shoulder. This isn't your fault. The adults failed her. The system failed her. You were just another student trying to survive. Sophie cried harder. But I could have been her friend. I could have stood up for her. I could have done something. Now she's somewhere in this building with a weapon planning to kill people. We all could have done something. That was the truth nobody wanted to say. The K-9 units arrived. German shepherds trained to detect weapons and explosives. They started on the 3rd floor and worked down. Within 10 minutes, they hit on something. Storage closet on the 2nd floor near the science wing. Officers moved in carefully. Found 2 backpacks hidden behind cleaning supplies. One contained 2 kitchen knives. Large chef's knives wrapped in towels. The other contained a hammer and rope. Not guns. Not bombs. Simple weapons that could be obtained from any home. Weapons that showed this was personal. Close range. Intimate violence. They wanted to look Marcus and Caleb in the eyes when they hurt them. This was about making them feel the pain they'd caused. About balancing skills that nobody else would balance. But finding the weapons didn't mean finding the girls. Patricia and Naomi were still somewhere in the building. The dogs kept searching. Officers kept clearing rooms. 6th period was 10 minutes away. Students were getting restless in locked classrooms. Teachers were struggling to keep them calm. Phones were buzzing with texts from parents who'd heard about the lockdown. Social media was exploding with speculation. News vans were showing up outside. This was becoming a media event. Another school. Another crisis. Another failure of systems meant to protect children. I wanted to scream. This was someone's daughter. 2 someone's daughters. Girls who'd been hurt so badly they saw murder as their only option. Where had the adults been? Where was the help? A teacher's voice came over Officer Barnes's radio. I have eyes on someone. Northeast stairwell between 2nd and 3rd floor. 2 females. Matching descriptions. They're just sitting there. Not moving. Not talking. Just sitting on the stairs. Officers converged on that location. Detective Ortiz and Detective Kim moved quickly. We followed because nobody told us not to. We reached the stairwell and I could see them through the small window in the door. Patricia and Naomi sitting side by side on the concrete stairs. No weapons visible. No aggressive postures. Just 2 girls sitting together crying. They looked so young, so broken, so completely lost. Patricia's head was on Naomi's shoulder. Naomi was staring at nothing. Both of them looked like they'd been crying for hours. Detective Kim opened the door slowly, hands visible. No sudden movements. Patricia, Naomi, we need to talk. Both girls looked up. Their faces were blotchy and red from crying. Patricia spoke first. We couldn't do it. We got the knives. We had the plan. We were ready. But when 6th period got close, we just couldn't. We're not murderers. We're just tired. We're so tired of hurting and nobody caring. We wanted them to hurt like we hurt. But sitting here waiting, we realized it wouldn't help. It wouldn't make anything better. We'd just be adding more pain to the world. Naomi nodded. We just wanted someone to listen. Someone to care. Someone to make it stop. But killing them won't make it stop. Detective Kim sat down on the stairs with them. At their level. Not standing over them. Not treating them like threats. I'm listening now. Tell me everything. And they did. For 20 minutes, Patricia and Naomi told their stories. Every incident of bullying. Every report they'd filed. Every adult who'd promised to help and then didn't. Every day they'd walked through these halls feeling unsafe and unseen. Every night they'd gone home crying. Every moment they'd considered just giving up entirely. The pain spilled out of them like water from a broken dam. Years of accumulated trauma and rage and hurt. Detective Kim listened to all of it. Took notes. Asked questions. Treated them like human beings instead of threats. Other officers kept their distance. Weapons were drawn, but lowered. Nobody wanted to escalate. These girls weren't dangerous anymore. They'd never really been dangerous. They'd been desperate. Detective Ortiz called for counselors and social workers. Called for appropriate mental health transport instead of jail. These girls needed help, not handcuffs. When Patricia and Naomi finally finished talking, they stood up willingly, walked out of the stairwell with their hands visible, surrendered peacefully. They were taken to separate rooms to speak with counselors. Not arrested, not charged yet, just taken somewhere safe where they could be evaluated and helped. The weapons were recovered. The lockdown was lifted. Students were released back to normal schedules. But nothing felt normal anymore. Marcus and Caleb were kept in the office. They'd heard enough of Patricia and Naomi's stories to understand what they'd done, what they'd contributed to. Caleb was crying. Marcus kept saying, I didn't know it was that bad, over and over. Detective Kim made them write statements. Every incident they could remember, every mean comment, every rumor, every moment they'd contributed to making these girls' lives hell. It would all be documented, all forwarded to the district, all used to implement real changes. No more ignored reports, no more dismissing bullying as kids being kids, real consequences, real interventions, real protection for victims. It was too late for Patricia and Naomi, but maybe not too late for the next students who needed help. The 4 of us were finally released back to class, but chemistry felt impossible after everything we'd witnessed. Mrs. Kowalski was subdued, apologetic for her earlier intensity. She hadn't known the full context when she'd found the phone. She'd just seen threats against herself and panicked. We all understood. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Destiny found me after school, hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe. I heard what happened. Are you okay? I wasn't okay. None of us were okay, but we were alive. Patricia and Naomi had chosen life over revenge at the last moment. They'd chosen to ask for help instead of causing harm. That had to mean something. That had to count for something. The news coverage that night focused on the lockdown, the weapons found, the plot foiled, but they missed the real story. Two girls driven to the edge by systemic failure, by adults who didn't protect them, by a school culture that tolerated bullying until it created monsters. Patricia and Naomi were hospitalized for psychiatric evaluation. They'd face legal consequences eventually, but the DA agreed to treatment instead of prosecution. Marcus and Caleb were suspended pending investigation. Their college applications would note the suspension. Their futures were impacted. Not destroyed, but marked. The school board held emergency meetings about anti-bullying policies, about better intervention systems, about actually listening when students report abuse. Change came from the ashes of what almost happened. I went back to school Monday and everything looked the same but felt different. The stairwell where we'd found Patricia and Naomi was just a stairwell again, but I'd never walk past it without remembering. The bathroom where the phone was found was just a bathroom, but it had been ground zero for preventing tragedy. Mrs. Kowalski's chemistry class was just a class, but it had been the place where everything started unraveling. We went through motions of normal school life, but we all carried the weight of knowing how close we'd come, how one forgotten phone had exposed a plot, how two desperate girls had almost become murderers, how easily the ordinary could become extraordinary and tragic. Months later, I heard Patricia and Naomi were doing better. Intensive therapy, medication, real support systems finally in place. They'd been transferred to different schools with proper accommodations. They'd never faced charges for the plot that never happened. Second chances, grace, the possibility of healing. Marcus apologized publicly. Caleb started an anti-bullying initiative. They'd carry guilt forever, but they were trying to do better. The school implemented new protocols, mandatory training for teachers, anonymous reporting systems, regular check-ins with at-risk students. None of it would have happened without that Friday afternoon when everything fell apart. Sometimes systems only change when they're forced to confront their failures directly. I still think about that day. About Sophie crying in the conference room. About Jamal's anger. About Alexis's fear. About sitting in the nurse's office watching adults panic. About the moment we saw Patricia and Naomi on those stairs, broken and desperate and unable to go through with violence despite their pain. About how close we'd come to tragedy. About how many times this story plays out differently in other schools. About how many Patricias and Naomis suffer in silence until they can't anymore. About how we're all just trying to survive in systems that aren't designed to protect the vulnerable. The phone in the bathroom saved lives that day, but it also exposed truths we'd been ignoring. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create through our own indifference. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.